Ah, those nested loops, this thing that people always get confused about. And the point of nested loops is to create confusion as you listen to the person speaking, actually. But more on that later. The three biggest mistakes people make when they want to use nested loops or when they literally try to use them. But many people just imagine what it would look like if they were capable of using it, like Richard Bandler or people like that. Basically, the first big mistake is to not listen enough to the client in front of you. Let me elaborate before clicking anything else. People who start with NLP or hypnosis, covert hypnosis, whatever you want, they think it is all about the techniques. If I learn and memorize the right script or the right technique, or if I use this embedded command I read in Milton Erickson's story, then the client will change. It is not about the technique, it is about how targeted your stories and language and suggestions are with the client you are interacting with. So the idea is to spend more time elaborating with the client. Why specifically did you come to a session? What happened to you? What are the issues you face every day? And based on that, you articulate a story that will lead their problem to a solution. It is not about just having one static story you memorize by heart and then you say it out loud, and people who are just machines are going to change. Doesn't work like that. Human beings are way more complex than what it may seem in some NLP books sometimes. People are more complex than that. It is about the link you are creating between your mind and the mind of the person listening. You create and you develop that link by questioning the person. So what happened to you? Why did you come here? What is the problem you are facing right now? When did this start? How do you know you can't get out of this by yourself? All those questions will help your mind to formulate the best possible story that will let's say, decrease the pressure of that person who can't change by himself or herself, and will lead their mind to a solution they did not think about, consciously at least. In the end, stories are just a bridge to make them connect with resources they already have at their disposal. If you have read anything from Milton Erickson, you know how this works, or even in many NLP books at this point, you know how this works. So people have what they need inside their head, but they may not be able to use it by themselves. You using nested loops or hypnotic stories will help them connect their problem right now with the hidden resources they have in the back of their head, and they may think it came from you. Maybe you think it comes from you if you are a bit narcissistic and you think you are you have such great powers. In the end, you are just, let's call it that, a tool. In that instance, you are a tool that helps the mind of the person in front of you changing. Then you are a human being, you deserve respect, but in the session, you are a tool. You're not the one who creates the change, you are the one who helps people change. Big different mindset here that will unload a lot of pressure off of your shoulders if you are a therapist. From experience, just take that into consideration. So it works more based on targeting than really on just memorizing something static. You may have some stories, generic stories you use all the time, like my client John I had 2 weeks ago. I never had a client who was called John, but you know, you can just use those stories and connect them with what you want the client to think about, the suggestions you want to imply into their head. Mistake number 2 is to think, very common with nested loops, to think that more complexity equals more efficiency. Nothing could be further from the truth, and it is a very big mistake into people who read about hypnotic language. They think they have to fill their sentence with so many more clever, impressive, complex terminology, or like very advanced nominalizations mixed with an embedded command with the phonological ambiguity that will lead to a tag question. Whoa, simple, like I used to say, dumb and effective, okay? What can you say that is dumb and effective enough to work? Just simple, say something simple, and nested loops in the end is not necessary. You can just use a simple hypnotic story. That can also be enough. Sometimes when Bandler is on stage, he's not always using nested loops either. Sometimes he's just telling one simple story just for fun. Sometimes it is not always about creating deep, impressive changes in the mind of people. Sometimes it is also just about having some fun, telling funny things to make people laugh, to make them ease their pressure, because you make them laugh, so they are more at ease to listen to you and to learn, to grasp all the knowledge you are transferring into their head. So more complexity, no, it does not equal more efficiency. It does not need to be more complex and to nest your stories into 5 different levels like a Bender does sometimes. It is not required. It can be done if you want, but it is not a requirement either to make your session effective as a therapist. And number 3 is to believe, therefore, that nested loops are obligatorily more effective than basic hypnotic stories, which is not true either. You can just tell one very simple story in 2 phrases. So yesterday I went to the garage and I made my car being repaired, and after my car was repaired I felt better. That can be enough. Not right here for you because I don't know you, but if I was saying that exactly in connection to something my client has been talking about for 30 minutes, maybe that single story alone could be enough. Maybe I don't even need to cut the story in the middle, start something else to nest the loops together and create confusion. I may do it sometimes, but it is not a requirement either. Do simple. If you feel comfortable and if you like telling stories, you can do nested loops. It's definitely possible. And down below there is, in the description, a course that can lead you to do that, where I take you by the hand and explain to you step by step how to do all of that, really one step at a time, nothing complex, just simple. Do this, do this, do that, and you get there. You can create your nested loops by yourself. It is enough to just give a simple hypnotic story, not necessarily needed to always overcomplexify. It is already pressure. When you have a client in front of you, they have paid you and they are waiting for a change, that alone is already pressure. Don't add more than necessary. Trying to memorize 5, 7, 8, 16 stories because you want to nest all of them together. Whoa, simple. Just which story can you say right now that is really going to affect the mind of the person who is listening to you? And you just do that. Then you test. In the course down below, you will see how to test if your stories made an impact or not. And you notice, was it helpful or not? Not? Okay, you get into another story. No more complicated than that. You do something, you test. Yes, no, okay, something else. Test again, yes, no, yes, it worked, cool. Let's move on. That's how hypnosis or covert hypnosis works. You just say something, you measure if what you said just had an impact, and then you move on to something else. And in the end, the process of nesting loops, so starting a story, cutting it, starting another story, and jumping back to the initial story later, it's called nesting and nested loops. The only point of that is to add confusion. It is to increase the level of confusion, because obviously when you cut your stories all the time like this, people are going to be like, and the more people are confused, the less their dumb but conscious mind will be able to argue with, oh yeah, but you know, in my specific case, it is not that simple because I have been fucked up when I was a child. Everyone was fucked up as a child anyway, so we can just get rid of that. And what Bandler likes doing is to keep using those nested loops on stage, because when you have 500 people in front of you, you don't really have time to talk to everyone one at a time. So what happened to you? Why do you think what I say won't apply to you for this and this? Okay, so let me elaborate. You don't have time to do that with everyone. You have time to do that when you are just one-on-one. You don't have time to do that when you have 500 people in front of you. That is why with a big audience, nested loops are a big plus, because people won't be arguing with what you say, because they can't, because their conscious mind is not capable of following all the stories you say, you talk about, tell, obviously. But when you just work one-on-one, it is not a necessity either. Just one very well-crafted hypnotic story that is really targeted with the problem of your client, that's enough. Adding nested loops is to add confusion to prevent any further resistance down the road. That is a plus, okay? When you can do that, it is a plus that can make you go one step further in your skills. It is not a necessity either. You can already influence people really easily without that. Again, if you want me to guide you with this, you can just learn by yourself, and if you want me to guide you with this, you have a course down below called The New Method to Learn Less Nested Loops, because I just elaborated a new process to develop them. It is not that the technique is new, but the process to learn it is new in the way I have crafted it in the course down below. I will be guiding you from step 1 to step 5, and then you can just start using nested loops or hypnotic stories in your own life yourself with your clients or anybody who is asking for a change in your life.